we do want to talk about this because we said basically in the chat we would, that the government's about to repeal 3Waters. Today is the anniversary of some of the big floods because of the cyclone last year, and that was all over the news today. And I just thought, and I've said this a few times to be a bit of a pissy, you know, be a bit of a piss taker. How you know, when these things come up, like I nearly said chlamydia in Queenstown, you know, in the water, whatever that one's called.
I'm sure that's also a problem.
Gonorrhea in Queenstown. And I always put that little text that goes, wouldn't it have been good if some government could have come up with a way to handle the water infrastructure in New Zealand, maybe all three of them. And I did that again over the weekend for a story that came out, and it went a bit gun shy. I want to probably state to all those people who don't get that, slightly tongue in cheek, I'm not saying Labor would have the problem solved by now, but the Labor government had a plan to move forward that would be underway by now. For all these floods that are happening all over the country that happened a year ago, there would be the planning process would have begun by now. Whereas what this government's done is it's promising to repeal within 2 weeks. The previous Labor government's 3Waters legislation is less than 2 weeks from being repealed, with the new national government looking to implement their own legislation, Local Water Done Well. It's a ridiculous title. Local Government Minister Simeon Brown has promised that 3Waters legislation will be gone by February 23, with his government new plan starting to roll out mid-2024. In other words, they don't know yet. They have nothing, and they haven't told us anything. And this is the thing that I wanted to make sure we're clear on. 3Waters focused on drinking, storm and wastewaters, intended to set up 4 public-owned entities designed to provide safe, reliable and effective water solutions. Under the legislation, these water organisations would have taken over providing these services from territorial authorities such as city councils and district councils. Now, very important, and really the only point I want to make about this, Chewie, is that what I just said. For the people who, when I put my tweets out with a little bit of my tongue on my side of my cheek, go, so Labor would have supported it, would have solved it by now. It's like, no, but Labor had a process, and they had the process in place, and they were beginning it. National is repealing it with nothing to replace it, other than the words, we've got a title for how we're going to replace it. And I think that we need to keep an eye on it, because I guarantee you when it comes back, it's going to look like 3Waters. And all these people are going, why should we be paying for councils when we're not part of that council? It's going to be pretty much exactly the same, bar maybe one little part, which is we're going to ban Māori from being involved. I am being slightly tongue-in-cheek there, but it's going to be 3Waters with no consultation.
That's what it was. We all knew, like, the front and centre, the criticism of 3Waters was how undemocratic it was going to be to have Māori having guaranteed seats on those entities. Like, if they were good enough to be there, then they're good enough to get enough votes to be there. The very fact that we had such a vicious reaction to Māori participation in our water management means that they weren't going to get any voted seats anyway, despite the treaty and the obligations of it and the protection of Māori taonga, which could very easily be included to be water. But that's fine. We'll give it a bullshit name. We'll reset the clock to 0. We'll undo all of the work because we can't have even the fingerprint of Labor on it. Meanwhile, Wellington is losing 44% of its water to leaks.
Yep. I think that was one of the ones I tweeted
They're
out.
Planning for a state of emergency.
And made the joke about, only a government. And people were saying, so they'd have, no, let me say again, they wouldn't have had it solved by now, but they had a plan that they would have been able to begin to implement. And we're not even going to hear from this government till the middle of this year, and for some beginnings of implementation sometime next year. So they don't have anything to replace it with at the moment. They don't give that out. They don't know. So.
And this is a classic thing for councils. Shit, the ratepayers groups don't want to pay more rates.
Yeah.
So we'll just defer maintenance for decades. Pipes are under the ground. Nobody ever sees them. Don't worry about it until you're losing almost half of your fresh water to leaks, and people are actually pointing them out on the street, and you don't have enough work crews and enough maintenance budget to put a Band-Aid on it. And it's not a Band-Aid that they need. The pipes under central Wellington would be over 100 years old in some places.
Yep.
Like, at that point, we're getting close to fucking just throwing it over to the Warhammer 40k way of resolving things and just pray it away.
And the other thing I want to remind us of is, you get all these people who are anti-paying for other people's infrastructure, like living in Christchurch when we all paid for the earthquakes, or living in Muriwai where we're all going to pay for the floods. It's like the country in itself is only as strong as its weakest link, its weakest area. And remember what we said before, there's no wall that stops the water from Waitemata getting into South Auckland, or from Hamilton going to Tokoroa. It's the same pipes. So if your neighbour has got bad infrastructure, it's going to affect especially your drinking water, because all the water flows, like Queenstown water and Southland water and Dunedin water, they move around. It's not just like Dunedin water doesn't have only from Dunedin to nowhere else. So how goes Southland, so goes Dunedin. How goes Northland, so goes Whangarei. How goes Whangarei, so goes Orewa. Everything's connected. Everything's connected. There will be some obviously areas where it's not, but it's not just you. You're not an island unto yourself. So your neighbours are going to be a part of how your infrastructure works. Because if theirs is crap and yours is fine, then you will still get all the, I still can't find the word, listeria, whatever, that comes through their pipes into your water. It's just silly. And we do it all the time. We do it all the time. We always come together and we pay for, the citizens, the ratepayers of the whole country, pay when emergencies happen. We've said this before. People died from poor water infrastructure in Havelock North. The poor water infrastructure is a national emergency. When there's a national emergency, the country comes together. It's as simple as that. And people want their own councils to pay for things. Some of them can't. Some of them have 5,000 residents and need $30 million to fix up their infrastructure. Cannot do it. It might even be 300 million, actually, now that I think about that out loud. They can't do it. And sure, let them go, let them become a third world country for their infrastructure. Then the council next door to it are going to get impacted by it as well. We need to sort it out. The only way to sort it out is centralize it. The only way is to centralize it. And I'm going to put a little bet down, some money, put this money down, that it'll be centralized when their plan comes out, which is basically what 3Waters was.